What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Today is Best Served Podcast 274. We're talking that burger life. This is episode 2 of Best Served Loud, where we are going into the kitchen Q&A with Amanda Faison. And this is an exciting platform for me. This is a really, really exciting series for me. As all of you know, the entire mission, my mission, Best Served mission, is to really include more voices in the conversation around food, beverage, and hospitality, and to highlight and acknowledge what we call unsung hospitality heroes, the lifeblood of this industry, so often overlooked, so often undervalued. And now with what's happening with Dining Out Magazine and Amanda, bringing that to the forefront, being able to collaborate, truly, truly an honor. So I want to bring Amanda Faison in. Amanda, good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, break it down for us a little bit. Dining Out Magazine in the Denver market, people are familiar, yet this is the new Dining Out Magazine. So set the table for us a little bit on what the new Dining Out Magazine is really focused on.
Okay, sure. So Dining Out's been around for about 20 years or so, but we have sort of rejiggered it. And with our October issue, we relaunched it. So the whole premise of Dining Out now is that rather than being a consumer-focused magazine, very lifestyle magazine, it is for the industry. So it's the voice of the industry. It's, it's chefs, it's restaurant managers, it's restaurant owners, it's the whole gamut. So that's our audience, that's our focus. So it's industry talking to industry.
And then lots of the consumer market, our guests get a lot out of that. It's kind of a peek behind the veil. So I think there's a lot of exciting stories, and you get the depth of story, and you get kind of the real talk sometimes, which I really appreciate on that.
Yeah. And you know what I think is exciting is, yes, it's industry. Oh my gosh, can you hear my dog in the background? I'm
really excited to be on the show. I'm happy.
Oh my gosh. She's been sleeping and all of a sudden she's waking up. I'm sorry.
Real life. Real talk, we said. Real life.
I guess so. So yeah, I think what's really interesting is that it is industry, but there's so much there that the consumer can learn. So, via our social media platforms and our website, absolutely the consumer can kind of tuck into this. Oh my gosh, Sky, be quiet. Can tuck into these conversations as well and just learn so much about this industry that really is under duress right now.
Yeah, and it's such a human industry. It's a relationship industry on all sides of that.
It is a human industry.
Yeah, and so I think the human story of that sometimes gets overlooked, and I think we focus so much on the food products themselves, and those are commoditized. Anybody can make a burger, yet the burger that creates that bond, that sense of belonging, that sense of place, that's what transcends. That's what hospitality truly is, and so that's what we're getting into. Kitchen culture Q&A, right? Yep. Back page, you have dedicated the back page to highlighting, again, what we call those unsung hospitality heroes, the ones that are really, really hustling to make it all happen. And again, kind of get overlooked sometimes. So in the first issue of the new Dining Out Magazine, you got to highlight Katie Fisco from For My Brother Luck down in Colorado Springs. Was so excited, so honored to again be a part of that. Definitely in the comments is a link to that episode, so make sure that you check that out. And then now in issue 2, you are introducing us to somebody new. So tell us about who you highlighted in the Kitchen Culture Q&A back page of the Dining Out issue coming out end November 2020.
Absolutely. Kitchen Culture Q&A is such a tongue twister, by the way. So
yes,
it's a big one. So this time we are highlighting Ronaldo Muniz, who is the executive chef at the Cherry Cricket. And some people might say, hold on, executive chef, this person isn't necessarily an unsung hospitality hero. I totally see it differently. I think everyone knows the cricket, but they don't necessarily know Ronaldo's name. And that is what we're getting at here. There are people in this industry that we need to hear from, want to hear from, and we don't know their name, and we should. So he is fantastic. And
bring him in, Ronaldo.
That's right.
Thank you.
So this is exactly right what you're saying right now, Amanda. I want to definitely echo that, because I know the Cherry Cricket very, very well, and this is the first that I had heard Ronaldo's name, and I was so excited because this show is about me getting introduced to more people. I just love the people of this industry. We are some of the best people and most giving people I've ever met. We're a little bit crazy, and there's something exciting about the fact that we just are so immersed in hospitality, despite it being a very difficult industry. So, Ronaldo, thank you for the work that you do, because a place like Cherry Cricket is iconic. So many people's memories and moments of their lives are captured in a burger and a beer at the Cherry Cricket. And so it becomes more than just that burger. It becomes that sense of belonging, that sense of place that I think is so, so important. So I'm excited to have you on. Amanda, we're going to have you ask a couple questions that people can see the written answers, but we wanted to get them directly from Ronaldo for this. You're going to ask him a couple questions, and we're going to hear a little bit of your story. So I'm excited about that. So Amanda, please jump right in.
Okay, so before I ask you a question, though, I want to give a little bit of background here, because Ronaldo's been at the Cricket since 1999.
Come on.
So started as a cook, you worked your way up, and now you're the executive chef. And so I'm curious how you fell in love with cooking. How did you find the kitchen?
Well, thank you for having me. First, I think I fell in love with the kitchen watching my grandma cooking for her family. Because, I mean, I'm from Guatemala, and we always cook in a traditional way, and that is something I really love from my grandma, from her recipes.
Yeah, what are a couple dishes when you think of grandma? Look, I love that you went right to grandma. It's one of my favorite things because my mother is a great cook, right? And I can't cook certain dishes better than her, even though I'm a great chef and I'm better on paper and I have all the skills and techniques.
That's true.
It's so true, right? One of the things that I've heard a lot is the secret ingredient is in their hands, right? The way that they touch the ingredients, there's this sense of love that you can't write a recipe for. And sometimes chefs, we get so focused on the recipe, on the technique, even on the ingredient, not on the hands, on the love that goes into it. Is there a dish that represents that for you? That is the dish, the grandma dish, the abuelita dish that you must absolutely have?
Yes, something, actually it's a couple of them. One of them is her chicken soup, because she always make, like you say, with the special flavor, a special ingredient. And you're right, because I trying to make it by myself, but I don't taste like it. It tastes like the one from her. And also tamales. Tamales is another one. I mean, it's always in my mind. But I'm lucky because my mom is still cooking those dishes with the original recipe, and it's getting close to my grandma, but it's still a little bit. Maybe she's gonna be mad when she saw this. I'm saying this, but it's the truth. Yeah.
I love that. And tamales, like, is so important. And right now, here's a couple things. Food and the need for comfort is so quintessential, and in a moment through a pandemic, being comforted by food, I think, is so, so important. Also, tamales are very holiday time, right? When you get together with the whole family and everybody's involved and everybody's helping mix masa and everybody is folding or stuffing, doing some part. Kind of, what is that like, you know? And potentially, you know, I know Amanda and I were geeking out on tamales. Is that something that you're planning to do for the holidays?
Yes, of course. We are still doing this traditional dish for us every Christmas. And it brings a lot of memories to me, because when I was a kid, that was the time when we were allowed to help in the kitchen. You know, like you say, we play with masa and, you know, helping to put in everything together. Yeah, it was a very fun time. And that's what I feel like when I moved to the United States, I mean, and I'm going to start working in the kitchen, all those memories came to me. And that's when I'm going to start feeling like I want to start creating, you know, food for other people to enjoy.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I have just such fond memories. One of my grandmothers by marriage is from Mexico City. And so our family in LA would get together, and you would absolutely, you wanted to eat, you had to help cook. And there was an assembly line. There was a plastic folding table out on the patio, and there were chairs around it. And it was like an assembly line at the end of it. there was just a giant basket full of tamales
Exactly.
that then got steamed. Some of them got frozen. So I remember it was both to feed and nourish your family, and it was also a little bit to have the grandkid labor, right? Like I got 17 grandkids here. I'm putting them all to work. So I like that. Very, very smart from grandmas too. They spread out the work, which I really appreciate. So I love that. I'm so happy to hear that. And so, you know, mentorship is something, Amanda, that we've talked about a little bit. And I know always a question, you're very interested in that. I am interested in that. I think mentorship really matters. I think sometimes we just get so caught up in the minutia of what we do and how we do it, and we forget to slow down and really mentor our people. And that started with grandma. Mom is doing it. But for you, Amanda, like jump into that. When you're thinking about mentorship, what is the questions you want to like ask chefs?
Yeah, I mean, I always am curious who someone's mentor is. And it often begins at home with a grandmother, with a mother, with a father, something like that. But Ronaldo, do you have a mentor in, you know, since you came to the States and, you know, in the culinary industry?
Yes, I do. Her name is Lillian Hoya, and I met her working for Breckenridge Brewery when I was 20. And what I learned from her, it was the way to try to be perfect in the kitchen in general.
Yeah.
Because also she reminded me of my grandma and my grandpa, because she was kind of
strict. Let's not tell her that, huh?
And always she pushed me to the limit to bring out the best of me. But now, after 20 years, I can go back and see, and I say, because I learned in her way, now I'm here, you know, and I feel so grateful from her, because I mean, he teach me a lot of secrets she has, I mean, in her kitchen. And like I say, I mean, she always tell me never give up, even if the times, you know, are hard. And it's just something else in my mind now, especially at this time and this pandemic, you know. I keep trying to pass this to my coworkers, you know, people who are working with me, to think positive. You know, we're gonna go through all this, and we will survive. We will survive.
Yeah.
Lillian Hoya is so important, not only for the work with you specifically, but mentorship is exponential. So there are probably dozens, if not hundreds, of Ronaldo Muñez that she was able to have an impact on. And then you take that even further, all the people that you've had an impact on. And that truly is so important. And again, we forget about that. So is there, this is always fun and interesting. Is there something, if we had one of your cooks on that said, yeah, Ronaldo always says this one thing every time when it gets tough, when it gets hard, what is something that you try and communicate to your team that you recognize is something you absolutely got from Lillian when you were at Breckenridge?
Always clean in your way. You know, like when you start doing something, keep the kitchen clean. You know, because you don't want to keep, you know, the mess at the end, and then and then it's gonna be something like it's gonna be hard. You know,
I especially appreciate that right now in a pandemic when everybody is so conscious of cleanliness and sanitation. The fact that you've already been doing that and your team expects it from you, it probably makes that transition a little easier, because plenty of people clean the kitchen at the end. My kitchen's clean. Yeah, cleaning as you go, I think, is so important. And it seems like a little thing. I think it's a huge thing right now. And if you communicate that to your team and your company communicates that to its guests, well, that equals the opportunity to actually survive through this. And I think we underestimate that. Too many restaurants say, well, we're restaurants, of course we're clean. We've all been to a lot of restaurants that are not clean. Let's get that straight. So the fact that that's so important to you, that's the first thing you think to say, that means a lot to me. Makes me feel very confident coming to get a burger.
I also think the idea, you know, like you can even take that all the way back to the tamales when you were a child. You know, your workstation, you work fast, you work clean. And, you know, you don't want your corn husks to be, you know, you don't want them to be dirtied up as you're, you know, stuffing and, you know, rolling things up. I mean, I think that began then and just has continued even then. I mean, that work ethic with making tamales and things that are so time intensive. They're not difficult, but they're time intensive. Teach so many lessons, even to a child.
You got to be careful, because otherwise you'll get hit with the zapato on the back of the head, the wooden spoon on the knuckles. So like, you better keep your station
right.
keep your station straight, and you better be able to keep up. So I really appreciate that. All right, last this is kind of the yin and the yang of this industry. We are so passionate, so much love, so much emotion, so much personality and character, so much individualistic ability to be creative in this industry. And at the same time, tons of vulnerabilities. There is so much love and hate. Sometimes we prey on our own passion. We're too passionate, and it puts us in a position to work too long, too hard, not take care of ourselves. We take care of the guests. We forget to take care of ourselves and each other. So we're always grappling with the yin and yang in that. So I wanted to find out, and Amanda, I know this is always important to you, kind of what we love and what we need to improve upon. So Amanda, get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Ronaldo, I just would love to hear what you love, what drives you in this industry. What do you love every single day?
Well, what I really love about this industry is to see people enjoy their meals. Something I love is to see people's face when you bring the food to the table, the happiness. I was talking with my wife the other day about the person who delivered the food is the one. You can feel the happiness from families, from friends. Like people mentioned the other day, restaurants are where many things happen. You know, like a big contract signing. You know, engagements.
Special,
special occasions. You know, and that is something I really love from this industry.
Here's an interesting thing. There is, you just mentioned it. The person who delivers that food feels that. One of the things that we are always challenged with in restaurants is in the kitchen, you don't see that, right? There's this disconnect in the relationship. Yeah. You just talked about that's so important, because a lot of times guests are just nameless, faceless people that have weird requests and send back food. Right. And so it's one of the reasons that I think the open kitchen was one of the great advents, allowing kitchen staff to have a relationship with our guests. I thought was so important. How do you communicate that? How do you communicate that moment when you dropped a table full of burgers and everybody was just beaming with joy? How do you communicate that to a cook who's on hour number 9 and got burns the last, 3 days in a row? Like, it's hard. It's a grind. How do you communicate that love to the cooks that may not be able to actually feel it, actually see it?
Yeah, for me, actually, it's creating a very good relationship between front of the house and back of the house, because it feels great when a server came to the line and say, "Oh, this table was so happy with this meal," and they were impressed with this soup of the day. But I always try to send a message to the person who cooked the meal. For example, I have a prep person who has, like you mentioned before, a secret ingredient, because many people can make the same soup, but he is the one who make the difference. And we receive a lot of comments about his soups, and I always told him, Pedro, somebody was really happy today because the soup of the day. And little stuff like that is the one I feel like I recognize, or people in the back of the house. And you can see, because a lot of people say, the only way to say thank you is paying more, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes you need to feel, when other people are happy for something you are doing,
Yeah.
You need both, right? Like, I think what you're talking about is really, really important. And Pedro, Pedro, you're watching, you're listening. Yeah. You are the most important person in this industry. There's over 11 million people in this industry, and Pedro in every kitchen across the country. That's why we do this, because I now know, Pedro, the next time I eat that soup, I will know that Pedro gave me the secret recipe every single time. And that's what matters. That's why we do this show. That's why we have these conversations, because now Ronaldo and Pedro are part of our story. And I think it's so, so important. So I appreciate the love side. Now, there's a seedy underbelly of this industry. It is hard work. Most people don't survive in this industry. We turn over people at 73% turnover rates. Restaurants fail at 60% in the first year. They close 30% of restaurants literally close the doors after the first year. So it's hard, and we have to grapple with that. So, I'll just jump in, Amanda. What do you want to see change within the industry? What could we change? What could we do as an industry, as business models, as leaders, to make sure that Pedro is in the best opportunity to succeed, that he can retire and put 2 kids through college, get the gold watch and the pension, the American dream? How do we ensure that? What do we need to change, Ronaldo? What would you like to see?
Well, what I like to see is change, because people in this industry, I think it's a group of people who has a less benefit comparing to other industries. Like in a restaurant, nobody has a sick days. If you're sick, you're missing to work and kind of stuff like that. But at the same time, I can ask to everyone who is in charge of one kitchen, to treat well people in the back of the house. Because I know it's a lot of stress. And when I have the first interview with my people, I told them, especially when it's the first time they're going to work in the kitchen, I'm trying to be honest with them and say, this industry is kind of special because, when you are working for a factory or construction or any other,
right,
industry, people can ask, okay, I want you do this job. You can go slow, but I want you doing really well. But in the kitchen, it has to be fast. And at the same time, it has to be doing, right.
Yeah.
And that's the tricky part, basically we have to learn how to be a multitask, to throw a burger in the grill at the same time, a steak, ribs, fries, watching the bread, serving salad quick. And if somebody forget dessert, run for dessert, all that kind of stuff. But like I say, one thing, if I can change something, I change that is the benefit for people who are working in the kitchen.
Yeah, and a couple things to that. One is we'll drop it in the comments because now it has been it is on legislature for sick days that will be enacted in Colorado. So that is coming, and we'll drop a link so that businesses have information to be aware of what the expectation for sick leave is. The second is absolutely benefits. Most other industries, you might take one job over the other if you're interviewing for 2, and benefits is potentially the thing that has somebody go, I'm going for that job because it's so important. Benefits for us, we don't know what those are. Or sometimes even right now, as there's been pressure on businesses, sometimes businesses are doing the bare minimum just to say that they offer benefits. What we have to shift our mindset. If we are investing in our most valuable asset, our people, we have to actually invest in that. And so benefits, huge work that we're doing. So important. One of the ways that we're trying to get businesses to do that is when you're building your restaurant business model, you build your budget by investing in your people first. I'm even telling people if they're in startup mode, Ronaldo, that they should start a separate bank account, put all money that they're investing towards their people into that bank account and never touch it, because everything that it takes to start a restaurant costs more money than you expect. And at the end, when they're ready to hire people, they have no money left. So they cut down on training. They try to pay people less per hour. And it's part of the struggle of the business model. I'm not blaming the business. We need to invest in the people first so that we have the opportunity for Pedro, for Ronaldo, for everybody to be able to succeed. And I really, really appreciate you pointing that out. Amanda, any last thoughts? We're going to wrap. This was amazing.
Well, I really just like this little fact. I think it's just a full circle here, especially with the name of the podcast. So Ronaldo, tell us what was the first dish that you learned to cook when you came to the United States?
It's funny to say because now I'm working at the Cherry Cricket where we sell thousands of burgers, but that was the first dish I learned how to cook here in the United States.
The American burgers.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
And now you're serving some of the best burgers in the entire state. I mean, the little cricket burger, I mean, come on. It's amazing.
Come on. We should have had burgers for this episode. We should have been eating burgers right now. The other thing that I really appreciate about all this is the burger didn't come up until the very end, because Ronaldo, what you're great at, the reason that you're on this show and in Dining Out Magazine is not because you cook the best burger, even though you do cook the best burger. It's because of your story. It's because of your commitment. It's because of Pedro. That's what really matters. That's what we want to highlight. And then at the end, you better have a damn good burger, and you do. And that's what's important. So I really appreciate Ronaldo, Amanda. That is it for Best Served Podcast, episode 274. And Best Served Loud, episode 2. You'll see more of these as Dining Out Magazine comes out every other month.
Every other month, yes.
Go to Dining Out Magazine, diningout.com, which is linked up, so you can check that out. Get subscribed to the issues. You can also go on there and actually see online. The story is on there. You can see that online. And Amanda and I need to get introduced to more Ronaldos, to more Pedros. So please reach out to Dining Out Magazine, to Amanda Faison, to Best Served Podcast, and me, Jensen Cummings, because we want to hear from you. We want to include more voices in the conversation, in the stories around hospitality.
Nominate your people. Nominate your superstars that nobody knows about.
I know that somebody's working in a restaurant right now, looking to their left, looking to their right. That was actually my right and then my left. And they see somebody who matters, and we need to know them. We need to acknowledge them. It's so, so important. That is it for today's episode. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for the work that you do in this industry. Appreciate you. Cheers.
Thank you.